Today we're going to review what does ISO mean to me. Today we'll look at this in a visual sense. So if you think about the bone structure of the body, that is the ISO system. So we're going to call him Mr. ISO. Now we're going to add muscles, and that's the operational aspect of the organization for business practices and regulatory requirements. The International Standards Organization, ISO, is an international standard by which organizations manage the quality, business, and compliance of the organization. Within healthcare, ISO improves patient care and organizational performance, provides a team-oriented culture for our management. Therefore, we look at ISO as our foundation for our quality management system. Now we overlay the MERIS policies and procedures to define our daily operational system within regulatory guidelines. So if we think about putting pants on Mr. ISO, that's like our medication management. It's following the schedule, which is policy 16027, and it provides the service the same way, the correct way, every time it is provided. Following the medication administration schedules is following the work instructions, our policies and procedures for the process that you perform, whether it's medications or any other standard operating that you would do. It is up to the staff to follow these planned, documented procedures. This avoids having a non-conforming service when the medication is not given within the time frame established by our policy. Then our shirt is representing nursing services. So if you think about pain management, and that falls under policy 6026, following up how the patient feels after receiving that pain medication, and proper documentation identifies our staff are properly trained and are able to demonstrate following the policy by documenting the results of that pain management. And think about the sympathy towards the patient sometimes. Our left sock, if we think about laboratory services, we're thinking about our quality control and assessment. That is related to policy 6024. That identifies how we must complete the QCs of lab tests daily. This helps us to identify that equipment and lab product is accurate. This is also having a controlled environment. Then when we put on the right sock, we're looking at our front office. Patient transfer, policy 8032, assures that the facility will provide accurate information to the receiving hospital. Control of internal and external documents is essential to meeting ISO requirements. Completion of that entire form on the transfer is conforming to the policy. And then if we add our CAPE, that's our quality management policy 7075, and that identifies our systems that we measure, assess, and as need, improve and reassess as part of the enhancement to improve the patient healthcare outcomes. The quality management system is focused on the performance of the organization's systems and processes, not the individual. So now we're going to add our top hat. This represents our mission, our vision, and our values, and they all speak to the care as the important factor of the facility and our corporate organization. Throughout ISO, leadership has specific responsibilities by setting goals and objectives to meet our customer satisfaction. The Press-Ganey scores is another measurement tool to ensure that customer expectations are determined and that we attempt to meet and enhance that customer satisfaction. Think about the continuous process. So, if the patient is here and needs help, we may have to put a tube down the throat. That could represent the internal audit process. It's a look inside to verify that we're following our processes established, our planned and activities, and see that the work is being done accurately. This will also be reviewed during the documented process is consistent to leading to quality service and meeting customer and quality requirements. Our auditors look for appropriate records, equipment is calibrated, and employee training and qualifications. And if there is any non-conforming product, that is now correct and controlled. An example, if the facility is on track for their D&V CAP, the corrective action plan, prior to the next annual survey, the internal auditor we'll look at and see that we have made our improvements to our processes. Remember, this is not an evaluation of the employee. Now if you think about maybe applying a bandage to the arm. A patient comes in, they have an injury or a wound, and so we're going to clean that wound and then obviously dress it. Or maybe you cast the arm because it's broken. Now the treatment plan is developed, and then once the covering is applied to the site, you educate the patient and or their family about what they need to do to care for that wound site, and then follow up by checking to make sure they understand, such as they need to change the wound dressing, and then the act is to implement that care, which would include forwarding the patient's information to the next caregiver, as well as giving the patient information to use to follow up. What we have just done is completed a Plan, Do, Check, Act process for performance improvement, known as PDCA. When the patient no longer needs the bandage, the improvement will be the healed wound. So in summary, think about dressing up Mr. ISO and how this affects you each day at work to provide quality care and meet the expectations of the customer. And think about who your customers are. There are patients, your fellow employees, and our partners. So it's important to remember that this affects you every day at work, and we want to let you know that if you have any questions or concerns, please contact your quality manager or Maggie Rivera, who's Vice President of Patient Experience and Quality. And we hope that this will help you remember more about what ISO means to you.